there's nobody telling you your story, in this business. You are your own boss, so you figure out what works best for you and you go that route. It gets very addictive. I think that, you keep going and you have you're in this business to help people. There's so many stories out there, and there's so many reasons for somebody to buy or sell, whatever their situation is. And I think you want to be relatable. Again, we're trying to make a relationship and relate to each other, and I'm here to help you. Things just always change, and markets get busy, and then they slow down. And but I wish I, just paused a little bit to figure those things out a little bit earlier.
Did you know that there's a 180-year-old bylaw in Ontario that states that if someone knocks on your door and asks you for a beaver fur, then if the temperature is less than 10 degrees, by law, you have to give it to them? Now, what you just heard is complete BS, but I promise you that as of right now, this is the Zero BS Real Estate Podcast. If you're a real estate agent, you know the industry can be tough. There's so much information out there, and it's hard to know what's true and what's BS. And so in this podcast, we talk to top agents and other industry leaders who feel your pain, but have achieved success by staying focused on what's really important. And they're going to break it down for you into simple, actionable steps you can take to avoid the pitfalls and enjoy a thriving real estate business. I'm that bloke, John Reid from Reid Media Agency, and this is the Zero BS Real Estate Podcast. On this episode of the podcast, we have the pleasure of speaking with a good client and friend of mine from my current hometown of Brighton, Ontario, Diana Scott. So thanks for joining us on the podcast, Diana.
You are welcome. It's great to be here.
When I first asked you about coming on and, I said, what do you think you could speak about with passion? You said something like the fact that a career in real estate is not as glamorous as it is on TV.
Right.
Talk to me about that. Like, is it not?
I don't remember the last time that I showed up with my Chanel outfit like they do on Selling Sunset. Let's say that, okay? It's a great show. There's so many out there that people watch and enjoy. I enjoy watching them. I think it's great. Lots of drama. But is it reality? No, not for us anyways. Not in the area that we work.
What do you think are, like, if you just had to say what are like one or two of the biggest contrasts between this like glamorous lifestyle as it's shown versus the reality, what would that be?
Well, let's say commission, first of all. You see exactly what's on that screen coming up in front of you, what these agents in LA in LA make. So that would be the biggest difference, I would say. Second of all, like I say, I'm not showing up in my Chanel outfit and my, 4-inch stiletto heels.
Yeah.
It's because sometimes I have to have a shovel in my hand and digging out, a septic lid or something like that. They don't show the same as what we do in reality. That's all. And I think that everything on, social media or media in itself shows the great side of things and shows the things that, of course, the positives and the great things about being a realtor, but
kind of shy away from showing some of the things that might not be so shiny or fancy.
Nitty-gritties, right? Like your actual day-to-day.
Yeah. How long have you been in real estate?
Almost 10 years.
So obviously social media was around 10 years ago, but what do you think has been some of the impacts of social media, both positive and negative? And I say that because, part of it is the need to curate this perfect impression, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but, positive and negatives of social media and real estate, what would you say?
That's a really good question because like you said, you almost feel the need that you need to get out there and show your face and show followers and get it out there with your face and what you do day to day. And there is a little bit of a pressure on doing that because you see it out there. And it's probably not just for real estate, but for everything.
Right.
So you see these other realtors doing their thing. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you need to do what feels good for you and what feels natural for you to do, or else you're not going to portray yourself well. But there is a pressure because that's where people are seeing how many hours a day are people on their phone scrolling, and you try to get yourself top of mind in every aspect that you can. So you do feel a need that you got to get yourself out there for sure.
Can be a lot of pressure though to keep up that appearance.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting though is that you tried to put out there your day to day and okay, you've got your souls and just listed. But you know what actually gets the most likes and interaction are those funny things that kind of come up and are almost like unexpected, right?
Right.
I remember posting one, that must have been a few years ago when my kids built a big snow igloo.
Oh, I saw that.
Do you remember that? And I put a for sale sign on there. Like the amount of positive responses and laughs that I got out of that. And, that's, you got to make yourself real. I think that's the connection really that people need to.
I agree. And I think that sometimes if you were to put on that like image of perfection and everything's like completely like, fancy, it sometimes might make it so you're not relatable to people.
Or fake.
Or fake.
Know?
Yeah.
Right?
It's like is anyone actually that perfect or,
And I think we've been around social media enough that people can scope that out, right? Like, I think at the beginning, you could get away with it a little bit more. I think that people can snuff that out pretty quick now.
Yeah.
Like another, I remember putting up a sold in flipping a sign in a blizzard snowstorm. Again, you put that on there and people just think that's hilarious. And like, oh, okay, well, that's what she's doing. That's real.
Real life.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. Yeah.
So talking about real life, what would you say are some of the things that people don't necessarily see that is very much a part of your real life as a real estate agent in terms of like, what goes on in where people don't see it on social media, but also where people don't see, kind of in your work? Like what are some of the pressures, some of the things that you've got to do behind closed doors to actually keep it going?
Do you know what? I think in a market like we are in right now, where things are not going as quick as what we saw 2-3 years ago, the financial aspect that's in front of you you got to keep up your marketing, you have to keep up your advertising, you have to keep up the same services that you are your clients deserve, on every single property. And I think that people don't realize the amount of money that goes into listings before they even see that for sale sign on that property, on that street. So, the more of a question is now, like how long is this house going to need to sell?
Right.
And how much money is going to be put into this listing? Without so much of that guarantee like we were getting 2-3 years ago.
Right, because 2-3 years ago, you were pretty sure that a house would sell and it would probably sell in a week or maybe 2 weeks or whatever, whereas now that's got to be a whole lot of pressure when it comes to managing the business side of things.
Absolutely. And I think that we saw a huge uptick in people, realtors, starting to use more staging and professional photography.
Right.
They knew that their investment was going to come out to them. Their return on investment was pretty much guaranteed that it was going to come back at them. And that's not so much the reality right now.
Yeah.
But again, your clients deserve that same service that you were promising them.
And expect it.
And expect it, as they should, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that's the biggest pressure, I think.
Yeah.
Right now.
But that shouldn't really be a problem because real estate agents make like tons and tons of money, like hand over fist. Like you're getting exactly 2.5% of every side of the transaction. And
right. So that's another huge misconception out there. What what you see on that statement of adjustments when you get to that lawyer's is not in fact what's going into my bank account.
Right.
There's so many fees and insurances and brokerage fees and staging and professional photography. And again, you don't have to use all of those things, but in my opinion, to be successful, you do need to offer that and have that on your property. So, yeah, that's an interesting one because so many people don't realize what the bottom line is. And not only just that is that, you know, the amount of time that commission check is going to be coming at you. So
Right.
the 4, maybe even 5 months that it takes for a closing.
You've made that investment and it's like, sitting there and there's no comeback for a
That's right.
big period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, even when people are thinking about going through for real estate, getting their license, I get a lot of calls from people, I'm thinking about getting into real estate. And what do you think? And my biggest question to them is, can you afford your first year, 2 years
Right.
without maybe getting that commission check? Because especially in a market like we are sitting in right now, that's a reality.
Yeah.
That is a reality, especially at the beginning when you're most likely working with, more buyers. Buyers have the option of being more selective right now and have a lot more decisions and choices in front of them. So that commission check might take a long time to get into your bank account, and you need to be prepared for that.
So what other words of wisdom would you share with, kind of either new realtors or people who are thinking of getting into real estate when they call you? Obviously, like the commission side, the business side, but like what other pearls of wisdom could you offer?
You need to figure out your work-life balance very quickly.
Right.
And you need to set boundaries. And most people, I think, getting into the business and when they've been working a while, it gets very addictive. I think that, you keep going and you have you're in this business to help people and to make them happy with what they're purchasing or selling. And you want to make sure that their needs are being tended to. And sometimes you get lost in that a little
Right.
bit. Again, complete choice.
But just so they know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people don't realize the time commitment that you are expected to give of yourself.
So I remember I've seen a couple of memes on social media that like allude to this idea of like, I'm quitting my 9 to 5 to have more flexibility in my schedule, so I'm going to become a realtor. Like,
Yeah.
you quit your 9 to 5 to what, work
Yep.
7 a.m. until 11 p.m.
If not more sometimes.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's again, it is completely your choice. That's the great thing about real estate is that you really can run your business the way you want to run it.
Yeah.
There is flexibility in this career. I was lucky that I could, drive my kids to school in the morning because that's not usually when appointments and showings happen. But how many times have I been in the car trying to pick them up and a call comes through and I look at them, and, they get that, not again kind of, but it's the reality. And
So did you choose not to set up boundaries then? Is that what you said?
I was late in the game to set up
Oh,
boundaries.
okay. Right.
Probably still don't do them 100% well,
Yeah.
if you ask my husband. But, it's gotten a lot better. You have to figure that out.
Well, like you said, it's a choice though. And I'm actually just thinking,
Choice.
it wasn't too long ago that I got a text message from you at 11 p.m. saying that you just had confirmation from a client.
Yeah.
And you were sending it to me. You didn't expect me to reply until the next
No.
morning, but I replied immediately.
Right.
So like it's always a choice.
That is because I just switched over phones. And at that point, I'm going to say that my new phone didn't have the schedule message where my old phone, or else I would have scheduled that for you.
Right.
But sometimes when things go in my mind, I got to get it down right away and just send it. I know you don't care because you're in the business, but Yeah, now that the new update happened, it's fantastic.
So what other the schedule send a text messages like that's a strategy where you know kind of
Well, when I wake up in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3
yeah
o'clock in the morning, and your brain, I know you have it too. Your brain is just, I got to do this. I have to send this. I
and
have
then
to do
oh
this
crap
tomorrow.
I forgot to and then oh I meant to
Right?
make sure that
Yeah. So you schedule
you
your
can't lose the
message. You
thought.
can't lose your thoughts. So you put it down
Yeah.
and, putting on a piece of paper beside me, rather just get it into the phone,
Yeah.
schedule it, which is a great app to have
Yeah.
on that phone. So yeah, you get it out, you get it over. But again, that goes to the whole you are expected to have immediate answers, to stay on top of the information, and people are expecting their answers quickly. We're in a world where everything just goes so
Yeah.
fast.
It's like I sent you a message 5 minutes ago. Like why haven't I got a response yet?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the way we do live. And I mean, it's just society now. So there's, again, it's your choice, but
And I think as well as like the expectation on the person, whether it's the client or whatever, who is actually sending you the message that
mhm,
you've got to respond to.
mhm.
For me personally, it actually causes me anxiety if I've got messages that are not responded to, tasks that are not,
Yeah.
kind of allocated or delegated or whatever it is. So it's actually, it's not just a case of meeting expectations.
mhm.
Certainly in my case, it's because I'm actually going to make things more difficult for myself if I don't um
You're
work
just
in that
rolling
responsive way.
It's all just rolling into, if you can't just keep on top of your day, it's going to be there the next
Yeah.
day, and it's just going to get more and more.
So how do you like you talked about having the flexibility you've been able to drop your kids off at school and
Sure.
like this there's stuff like that that's great. But how do you like manage family life and and that work life balance that you
Yeah.
express the importance of to new agents? How do you do that yourself?
Yeah. So, again, I was late to the game, definitely, with figuring out what my balance needed to be. And I have 3 kids. I mean, they're older now. I didn't get into the real estate business until they were a little bit older. And that worked for me. I could leave on showings, and my older 2 could babysit the younger, et cetera, et cetera. But I would say, that work-life balance, I remember being up to, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning doing paperwork, and my husband came out and he's like, "What are you doing?" It's like the middle of the night, and that was just like an ongoing thing. And
Yeah.
it was just like, well, I got to build this business. This is just what I have to do.
Yeah.
And I remember just saying that all the time. It's just what I have to do. It's just what I have to do.
And
And
does it almost feel like it's a temporary thing? You just got to do that for a while until you reach some
yeah, but it wasn't
yeah.
stopping, it just that I just kept, it was just ongoing and ongoing, ongoing. And
Mm.
um i- i- to become successful,
And does that partly come down to, like, as well as your goals to be successful,
Mhm,
does it partly come down to the risks involved? You talked before about like the financial
mhm,
aspect of you not getting paid for so long. You've got to make sure that like everything is happening. Otherwise, like there's a lot at stake.
mhm.
And you might be working on a deal and you put a lot of time and effort or money into it, and then it doesn't actually happen. And like
Oh yeah,
the
sure.
deals fall through. So
Oh yeah.
is there like a fear or like a kind of a like a risk there that might be motivating this kind of constant, I just have to do more and more and more.
My own personal fear is not having your client happy with you.
Right.
And I think that's what motivates me
Mm,
every day, right? You got to do a good job for your
mm.
for your client. And so that's definitely a fear. Yeah, that I'm not staying on top of the game, and I'm not. So, I mean, to go back to that, what happened for that life work balance, to we hired an admin assistant just
Right.
for us to get some of those tasks off of our plates.
So
Uh,
stuff that you didn't need to do.
paperwork. There's so much paperwork. So yeah, definitely, those things that somebody else can take care of so you can be in front of your client
Yeah.
and do your day to day. And honestly, once I had that, things got a lot, I'm not going to say easier, but I could make it work better, right? So I could concentrate on the things that I needed to concentrate on and not working and doing paperwork
Right.
at 1 o'clock in the morning.
So there's something that I've experienced quite a few times, like on a cycle, and I wonder if you relate to this, right? So whenever I take on another commitment, which normally is like another team member or whatever, something I've got a financial commitment to, I find myself stuck in this trap where I'll take that commitment because I want to start to delegate more so that I can free up more of my time because
Right.
I'm either like overworked or like I need, whatever. But then as soon as I take on that commitment, I go, crap, that's a commitment. I've got to do more business. So then I actually ended up working more. And to be honest, that's one of the ways that I've grown the business quite rapidly. It wasn't it's not that it was unintentional, but like that was through this cycle of like, there's so much work. I need somebody. Oh, wow. That costs a lot of money. I need to get more work.
But don't you find that as well? It's one step backwards to get 2 steps forward.
That's true, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just something that you have to do and just take that pause
Yeah.
so you can work through it and get to where like your business just grew exponentially. And to be able to make that work, you did have to take that pause to train, to give your knowledge to your team members, and that you have to take the pause.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
And so what was, like, aside from just being able to delegate that paperwork and some other tasks, what were the other benefits of expanding the team and hiring an admin when it comes to the work-life balance?
Oh, yes. And not only just even the work-life balance, but, working with other people. I think both of us are people, we like working around other people and having that added team member to, just work ideas off of
Right.
and plan and just having the office as another person, because it can get lonely out here, as that's actually a really good point. I mean, again, so many different aspects that you can do in real estate. You can work independently. You can work as a team. You can have admin. You don't have to have admin. Again, the glory of doing this business the way you want it. But it is lonely out there when you don't have somebody else to communicate with during the day, because you feel a lot of that pressure than yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In your experience, do people have a pretty clear idea of whether they want to be solo and they just want to get to a certain level, or whether they are trying to grow a team, whether they like have certain goals, like, or whether it's just more of an organic thing in most cases? I guess it's
organic. I really do. I think that you work in maybe one line and then, maybe something just falls on your lap and then you go a different path. And again, like, there's nobody telling you your story, in this business. You are your own boss. So you figure out what works best for you and you go that route.
Yeah.
That's a massive positive in this career.
Yeah. So let's go back to the whole concept of the stuff that people don't see, the stuff that you wouldn't see on Selling Sunset, right?
Yeah.
Like all the behind the scenes tasks and the the calls late at night and all the rest of it. Like, what do you do to stay on top of all of those things without driving yourself crazy?
One of the things I started doing, actually, I figured I have to change something in my life. I can't have my family constantly angry that I'm taking these calls, or, because that wasn't going to change. To be in this business, you have to take the calls.
Yeah.
But I had learned from another colleague of mine, shut your ringer off. You'll still hear the vibrate, but to not hear that tone every couple of minutes go off, right? I wasn't the one noticing it so much, but other people around me sure was.
Right.
Sure were. So I started doing that. It made a huge difference. You still feel it.
Yeah.
You still it's going out, but it's not that constant.
And it's not a public thing where like
public thing,
your kids
right?
and your spouse is going to roll their eyes. Here we go.
So I can excuse myself, go to the bathroom, go outside, and it's not a big production, right?
Do you find yourself sneaking away
Yes,
sometimes?
all the
Yeah,
time.
sometimes I do that. Like I'll be having a conversation with my wife, and it's like, and I know that there's somebody who needs something, and I'll feel my phone go off, and I'll continue the conversation.
Yep.
Well, my wife's gonna kill me when she hears this, but like I'll be like, I just got to go to the bathroom, sweetheart, and I'll go to the
She
bathroom.
knows you're taking your phone, you're putting it. She knows
No, but
exactly.
I'm really discreet about how I like
Right?
pick up the phone, like off the
No, all the time and all the time. And like I said, my kids are older. They know, they get it, but it's not just like blatantly in your face,
Yeah.
you know, when you can do it other ways. But
Yeah, but like you said, it's a choice. Like, it's
choice.
nobody forces you to
Nope.
do this.
Nope, nope.
Yeah.
But again, you know, that motivation of, and everyone's motivation is different. But you're there to solve people's problems every single day. And how are you going to solve that problem if you are not picking up the phone?
Right.
Right. And yeah. Yeah.
Let's speak about solving problems and like
Mm.
what it is that you do for clients, because there's a lot of real estate agents. Everybody has a slightly different approach.
Yep.
What's your what is the value that you want to bring to your clients that's maybe a little bit different to the average realtor?
I think that you are giving yourself as a one-stop shop of everything they need. So, you know, this morning, for example, can I talk like some specifics? I mean, I'm not going to say names, but,
Yeah.
you know, this morning, I have a client who is a little overwhelmed and on their own. And, you know, it was overwhelming for them to even the list of movers that I was giving to them. And I could see it in her eyes. You know, it was just like one more thing. I'm like, just kind of grabbed that list back and said, let me do this for you. And I'm going to call these and I'm going to just give you a breakdown of availability and cost and things
Right.
like that. Right. So, you know, you're a secretary, you're a therapist,
Yeah.
you are a social worker, you are, you wear a lot of hats in this business, because again, you want to be there for them and you want to create a relationship. That's, to me, the biggest thing why somebody wants to work with you is you're building a relationship and you have that, you know, just ask me anything, you know, whatever you need, I'm here for you, and we're
What
going to figure this out.
What are some ways that you go about establishing that relationship in the first place? Because obviously there's a lot at stake.
Mhm.
People have got to take some kind of leap of faith and trust you to handle this,
Mhm.
right? But what do you do to try to instill as much confidence as possible? Like
Trust,
in
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, instilling that trust, you know, I am here for you every step of the way. And again, maybe I'm doing it to myself, right? If you need me anytime, you know, 24/7, I hear those words that I'm saying it. I'm like, yep, I just said it again.
Yeah.
Right? So of course they're gonna feel comfortable reaching out at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I want them to be comfortable with that because, you know, maybe something in their mind popped up and they're the ones in the position of, you know, possibly feeling overwhelmed and anxious about this move. I mean, you know, there's so many moves of every type. It's not always happy, you know, and if they have something come up and they need it solved, then you want them to reach out. So yeah, trust is huge.
Right. Because I mean, you say there that like it it's an obvious thing when you think about it, but it's not always going to be a really good situation. As in, like people making a decision that now we're going to leave this home and we're going to go into another home, and it's all wonderful and it's like a great story. There's got to be some.
There's, you know what, there's so many stories out there, and there's so many reasons for somebody to buy or sell, whatever their situation is. And I think you want to be relatable. Again, we're trying to make a relationship and relate to each other, and I'm here to help you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do when it comes to because every property that you list is different. How do you achieve consistency in terms of like the service that you're providing, the opportunity that you're creating to have a good result? Like, what are some standards
Oh, that's,
that you would say
you know what?
you uphold?
For me, my standard, whether it is a $300,000 home to a million plus home, you still want to give those same opportunities and same services to your clients, because you want their property to shine. So, uh, again, whether it comes to your professional photography and your staging and eh, there's going to be a buyer at every, price point.
Mm,
But again, you have to show that property in the best light.
right.
So from advertising to the services, everything, you want to keep that consistent.
Yeah.
Mm.
How?
And expect, and because clients are also, when they are reaching out, whether they've seen it from a postcard or my website or anything like that. I mean, okay, I want what I see in front of me, and that's what I'm expecting from you.
Yeah. Yeah. What about those listings that might not shine naturally, and like there's only so much you can do? Like,
Mhm.
is there anything that you do to I guess try to motivate and inspire yourself to still? It might not be the most exciting listing, but you still gotta go and do the open house. You've still gotta, kind of give it the best possible service you can.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, this is somebody's property,
Mm,
and they're trying to sell this property. So yeah, you got to do. You're just expected and to do the same things
yeah.
that you would do. Like I said, any price point.
Yeah.
Any price point. Sure, at the higher, price points, you're doing some more things. Maybe you're doing an agent open house or, some added value, things like that, especially if it's a property that's maybe not in the price point that you've got 100 buyers or,
Right.
to bring buyers there. So yeah, you're doing more customized
I guess,
services for
yeah, you
this.
do it at a level that's appropriate to the listing. Because if
Right.
you try to do something like that to, a lesser house,
Well, or you're not going to do the same thing to a piece of vacant property or,
right?
something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. What's the nicest house you've ever listed?
the one that we did in Boulder Hall, the workers property
Oh yeah.
that you were at as well. I think that was a
Yeah.
pretty spectacular one. And I would say you were on that one as well. The one just north of Coburg.
Oh,
Those estate homes
McCarthy.
up there. Yeah,
Think-
yeah, were beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful views up there. Um, yeah, yeah. But it's the properties are every one of them's different, really.
Mm,
But when you're speaking of favorite properties, it's one thing. But it doesn't have to be a $2 million home
mm,
to make it as special or pop kind of into your memory of.
yeah. What are like one or two of the most memorable experiences you've had with clients?
I think on the spot right now, I would say one of the ones that pop out was we did an estate sale and they were living out of province. The trustees were living out of province, and we literally did everything for them. They had visited a couple of times throughout the listing process, but it was so great to feel like you just literally took everything off of their plate, living a different province away, and you helped them through this with that distance, right? Yeah. I mean, let's be real. Like, I don't do this alone. Like, I've got my partners, I've got staging partners, you guys, like my team. There's just so many people that come into the process to make it the best for our client,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
What are your like goals for the future? Like, are you gonna continue to try to find that work-life balance, or like now that your kids are older, are you just gonna throw that away and just be
Well, that's a really good point, right? Because as we kind of grow and time kind of goes as well, your life changes. I don't have two of them in the house anymore, gone to university, and your time opens up a little bit, right? Maybe. But I don't know. I mean, again, you just kind of roll with what's in front of you. I've got a team member who is going through right now, going to be licensed very shortly. That's going to be exciting. Again, like you add people and it just naturally grows as well. So I'm excited for her to experience, the inner working. She's been around real estate for a while, but to really get in there and do her thing and to watch her grow, it's going to be fantastic.
What's your biggest priority in terms of helping her to grow as a new realtor?
Um, Bringing her the business that she's going to need, obviously, to start. She's got great connections herself, so I think that just on that basis alone, she's going to do fantastic. She's got a great, you know, relatable personality, very trustworthy. So I think it's just going to come natural to her. I really do. But you're here for all the questions, and again, we've got our support with our admin as well. That it's just fantastic. You can stop at the side of the road and you make a phone call and be like, oh my gosh, can you do this on the computer and send it to me? You just
Mm.
things happen quick and you just need to adapt. And we're lucky to have that support system as well. So, but yeah, there's a lot to learn even from her going to that administration side to getting out there and doing her thing. Yeah.
If you look back at yourself as a brand new realtor, you said like 10 years ago, what's one thing that you know now that you wish you'd known back then?
Oh, I'll keep going back to it all the time. I wish I knew that it was okay to not to say no, but I wish I knew that balance a little bit. And I'm not saying that I have by any shape or form nailed it yet, because things just always change and markets get busy and then they slow down. And but I wish I just paused a little bit to figure those things out a little bit earlier.
Rather than letting them figure you out, I guess.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But again, you just have that, voice in the back of your head of just like, but this is just how it's going to have to be.
Yeah.
You just got to keep going, got to keep going, got to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the entrepreneurial life, whether it's real
Right.
estate or whether it's something else.
Anything.
Yeah, it's
Owning
kind
your
of
own
addictive.
business. It is addictive.
Yeah.
It is addictive. And you got to watch it.
Yeah.
You really got to watch it when you got to make sure you have your priorities set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that your formation of your new agent is everything you hope it will be, and you
Like I
continue
said,
to.
it's just a continuous, moving target. What works, what doesn't work, how you feel, how business is going, and you're constantly adapting. And I mean, that brings into the whole social media thing, and you're constantly learning the differences of at one time you're using one portal and one computer program that you have for our systems, and then they'd go and change it every other year, and it's constantly learning and staying on top of those new things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last question I want to ask you is about the clients that you work with, right? What do you hope they are going to be left with, right? After you go your separate ways and they make the move and, then you go and help new clients. What do you hope that they're left with from their experience with you?
That the experience that they had with the transaction of either, buying or selling, that experience resonates with them, stays with them, so they can tell their family, they can tell their friends, right? I mean, living in a smaller town, you really try to get referrals and work with people who have experience working with you, and can, hey, give Diana a call. She helped my daughter move. They loved it. It was great, and you want to keep that, the top of mind going, obviously, as well. Not just closing and then you say see you later. you want them to remember you, and you want them to have that experience as a very positive one so they can tell their friends.
Yeah, and I guess we come full circle because it's not the only thing, but I guess a big part of that is remembering that you did answer the phone at 10 p.m.
Right.
Remembering that you did go above and beyond. Remember that you did.
She was responsive.
Yeah.
She was right. I mean, and again, it's just you want to make sure that the experience was as positive as it can be, because no one's going to hire you back if you didn't do a good job for them.
Well,
there are too many choices in this business, right? So you've got to stick out. You've got to stick out.
Because if you don't, you're just one of many.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's easy to see how you've grown such a successful business, and I really appreciate you coming in and sharing some of it with us.
It was fun. It was fun.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to Diana for joining us, and thanks to you for watching. And did you know that there's a house in Toronto that's only 8 feet wide? So you can almost touch both sides if you stretch your arms out. And get this, it sold last year for $830,000. That's over $100,000 per foot in width. The truth really is crazier than fiction. And for more real estate truths, we'll see you on the next episode of the Zero BS Real Estate Podcast. Bye for now.